Hello and welcome to Lunch with DRBA. This session has been pre-recorded. However, at the end, you will see my email address. Feel free to send me any questions. Our presentation today is Save the Monarch. I'm Regina Flora, the DRBA Assistant Educator, and I'm also a Virginia Master Naturalist. So why should you help save the monarch? Well, one of the main reasons is because the monarch butterfly is an iconic symbol of migration. Very few other butterflies migrate, and we happen to be fortunate to have the monarch migrating through our country in the spring migration and in fall. They are pollinators for wildflowers, conservation for other species, helps us address environmental issues, expands our education efforts, and it makes the public aware of the species decline. Currently, we're trying to get the monarch on the Endangered Species Act as a final federal rule. The monarch has been in decline since the 1990s. Some wintering roost areas report up to a 90% decline. There has been some increase in the last couple of years, but it's very far from meeting and fixing the decline. Although the monarch is classified endangered over North America, it is not federally protected yet by the United States. At the end of 2024, the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service proposed that it be listed as threatened with a species-specific protection to encourage conservation under the Endangered Species Act. However, protections do not apply until a final federal rule, and a decision was not made in 2025. But monarchs are definitely in decline, and here are reasons cited by various organizations across America. Journey North says the decline is due to habitat loss, loss of milkweed, and use of pesticides. All of these things make migration perilous. The World Wildlife Fund says that monarchs are on drastic decline due to droughts and pesticides. The National Wildlife Federation says there's been a loss of native habitat, which means loss of milkweed for monarchs. The Geological Society tells us that climate change affects the monarch's life cycle. Project Monarch Health advises us that fewer than 1 out of 10 eggs survive to adult butterfly, and this is even in good condition. Recent research by the University of Georgia tells us that monarchs are failing to reach winter designations, and all of the above reasons can apply to prevent them from getting down to the winter designation, for which our area is the bottom of Mexico. Did war also add to this decline? In World War II, the seed pods were collected, even by children, for pay. It was the dried pods that were full of the seeds and the white filaments called floss. These fibers are waterproof and buoyant, and they were used to stuff 1.2 million life preservers for soldiers. But what happened to the seeds? This happened over a period of 2 years, and farmers already did not like milkweed in their pastures or in their agricultural fields. So all of these seeds were being discarded, not planted somewhere else to keep the habitat in force. Here's a little diagram to help you identify a monarch. They are a winged insect. They do have 6 legs, which are hidden in this photograph. They have 4 wings and hind wings, so they are classified as a winged insect. Other reasons to make it an insect is that it has a head, a thorax, and an abdomen. Also, that body section must have an exoskeleton. For the butterfly, this exoskeleton is a bit hard, like soft plastic at its head area and thorax, and then it's a softer, like exoskeleton around its abdomen area. Of course, they have antennae. The little lines on the butterfly are called veins. This is a picture of a male monarch butterfly. Notice the arrow pointing to these scent glands or scent scales. Only the males have those. Other identification is the orange wings, although other butterflies have orange wings too. On the monarch, the variant orange can go from light to dark and even a couple of shades on the same butterfly. So that's not a real indication, although they will be orange. They do have black veins. The monarch has white spots all around the edges of the wings, plus on its head and thorax areas. You can see in one of those photographs. If you find something that's orange with black wings, make sure to look for those spots on its head area, because you may be looking at a viceroy butterfly in our area instead of a monarch. The wingspan is about 4 inches, so it makes the monarch also a bit larger than our viceroys. And again, the males have the 2 black wing spots. So this photograph at the bottom is a photo of a female. No wing spots down there on the hind wings. If you're wanting to find a good app to help you identify all kinds of things out in nature, the best one I think is iNaturalist. It's used by researchers, scientists, students, naturalists all over the world. You take a good photo or two, submit it in on the app, which is free, and then the app starts helping you identify what you have found. Here's another picture, this time a real picture of an adult male. Notice those 2 black wing spots. And again, those are his scent glands. So the females can pick up on that scent and know that a male is in the area. Or at nighttime, they can smell each other out as they're trying to find a place to roost together. Monarch butterflies typically live from 2 to 6 weeks, or say 15 days. And this is pretty typical for many butterflies. They have a pretty short lifespan, except monarchs for the last generation changes in the fall. These migrating back to Mexico can live 8 to 9 months and possibly travel about 3,000 miles. These would be the ones that were in up at the border of the United States and Canada, and they're going all the way back down to the bottom of Mexico to the winter reservation areas. So how do I know, though, that they're traveling 3,000 miles or whatever amount of miles? Well, there's 2 ways. People are now tagging monarchs. You can do a little online class and get yourself an account set up. They will send you these tags with a number on them that is specific to you in your area. You learn how to properly catch them with a full-size butterfly net, how to hold them, where to tag them at, and then you release it. And if someone else happens to photograph or pick up on a butterfly with a tag, they'll be trying to read that number and turn it in. And then the people in charge will be looking up that number and know where that butterfly came from. Also, about a couple of years ago, some tech scientists came up with a butterfly transmitter. This little transmitter is so lightweight and small that it kind of super glues onto the back of that head and top of the thorax-like area of a monarch, stays on there, the monarch takes off, and the scientists can go into their online program and pick up where that little transmitter is sending out beep, beep, beeps from wherever that monarch is at. So that's 2 ways that they are now tracking and individuals can be identified and know exactly where they first originated and how many miles they fly each day, the route they're taking, and how many total miles they make it before they get to Mexico or down to the bottom of California or something happens to them. DRBA works a whole lot with groups that are doing pollinator gardens. And in recent years, we've been converting pollinator gardens or just going with Monarch waystations. So what's the difference in these two types of flower gardens? A Monarch waystation is a dedicated garden space or area that provides habitat for monarch butterflies and other pollinators. So right off, this means that a monarch waystation isn't just for monarchs. It is for all kinds of butterflies, bees, and other types of insects and pollinators. My waystation is full of all types of these little critters. But the monarch waystation must always include milkweed because it's the only plant that monarchs will lay their eggs on. It's the only plant that the caterpillars eat. And of course, in with the monarch waystation, you have all of these other pollinator-friendly plants. Waystations provide support for the declining butterfly population. They also offer environmental benefits like improving the air quality and reducing runoff and erosion. Some of the waystations that we have helped with are included on this picture here. This is over at Martinsville High School. The first one, the Monarch Waystation, is right in front of the school. And this is where we taught the students how to plant the different plants and create a Monarch Waystation. And then it was up to them in the school to take care of it. There's one down now at the Smith River Greenway in Eden. Many years ago, one was established beside of the Virginia Museum of Natural History. Now, often when we do these gardens and monarch waystations, we want the group or the students to do like the physical labor of it and learn about that. So we are there at the DRBA's education team to kind of guide them and how big to make the hole and how to take the plant out of the plastic pot first, things like that, where to arrange the plants at. These are pictures over at Patrick Henry Elementary. These students went through the entire cycle for the monarch. They got these big cages, which are called monarch castles. They're very tall because inside of there had to be a potted milkweed plant. And the eggs were put in there. They took care of them. They hatched into the caterpillars, which were then eating all of the plant up inside the cage. And that should have lasted them until they made their pupa in there, hanging onto the cage top a lot of times. And then they emerged as adult butterflies. So when they emerge out of their pupa, they are full adult butterflies. It does take them several hours to stretch out and warm up to be full size, but they are adults. So the students went through that cycle, but they also built their own monarch waystation right there at the school. A lot of times when we're working with groups, we have our excellent volunteers. There is a group of environmental educators that work along with DRBA projects, and these are called our DRBA Volunteer Environmental Educators, which we usually call these. So we're out there this day helping do the garden, and the bottom photo is after the border was put in and the mulch put down. This turned into a beautiful full density garden. Here's one of our V's over at Snow Creek Elementary. All types of things are out there at Snow Creek in their outdoor classroom area, including this new Monarch Waystation. At Bassett High School, we've worked with some of like an agricultural club group of students. They did all of the physical work. Here we are watering it afterwards. And you kind of see how we were planting the plants out there, putting shorts in front, talls in the middle, deciding where the different plants were going to go all around their little waystation. And by the end of summer, this was a beautiful, full blooming garden. Up at the Mayo River in Stewart, there's a Mayo Rail Trail that runs beside of the river. Very nice paved trail and grassy areas on both sides, very close to the river. A group of locals and some more of the DRBA Vs did this way station. So they just cleared off the side of the bank there near the river, put in all the new little plants. And then the big picture shows a few months later how full and dense and all the flowers that were blooming. Sometimes we get a private donation for a Monarch way station for the community. A donation came in for this one to be fixed at the Fisher Farm Park. So we didn't actually have a group specific to work with, but some of the V's came over and we planted this one right here. The bottom picture shows us when we're just finished planting out, and then a couple of weeks later, you can see how the growth had happened, and it turned into a pretty nice garden there. If you want to go around the area, looking for butterflies, counting monarchs, just seeing all the different plants that we're putting out in the way stations. Here's a list of a few more in the general area. Spencer Penn Center, Albert Harris Elementary, Danville Anglers Park, Fieldale Park, Piedmont Arts, Philpott Visitor Center, and the Stewart Library. There's a photo of a common milkweed in bloom, and you'll notice there is a zebra swallowtail on that bloom. So again, the milkweeds are visited by all butterflies. Here's some of the benefits of a way station. They restore the habitat loss, stimulates our senses, extends the flyway routes for migration, educates students on life cycles, creates public awareness, provides a project for Virginia Naturally Green Schools. This is an award presented by the state to schools that work on environmental projects to be a green school. Way stations help save the monarch. Working on these way stations offers volunteer hours for people like master naturalists and master gardeners. There's stewardship hours, like if you're working in the parks, creating parks, way stations like this, or upkeeping them. And you can also earn volunteer citizen science hours by doing reports of sightings. Now, I mentioned the flyways. Flyways are invisible road maps up in the sky that the monarchs automatically know. A parent does not fly ahead of any of the monarchs. None of them that are following the routes have ever been on that route before, but they know the way. And the most exciting thing about this map is that one of those yellow lines on the east goes right through our area of Virginia and North Carolina. So we know they're passing by. We just need to increase our monarch way stations and especially add in a whole lot more milkweed to the area. So we'll have more females stopping in to lay eggs, therefore giving us more monarch butterflies. Monarchs migrate alone. Don't be surprised if you go out looking at your garden or one of these I've mentioned and you only find one monarch that day, because they travel totally alone. The only time you'll see two like close together is they're mating, and as soon as they mate, they're separate again. They do not migrate at night. But at night, they often cluster together in what's called a roost. They prefer to roost together at night, and they will be trying to smell each other out, see if any males have been around. They can follow those scents. And they also will be listening for the flapping of the butterfly wings if there's a lot in the roost. Now, we don't hear a lot about roost in this area. You do and down in the bottom of California, where the ones following the Pacific coast might stay for the winter. And you can go down into those reserves in the bottom of Mexico, and it was an exciting sound of thousands upon thousands of monarchs flapping their wings at the same time. Now, when you do a monarch way station, one of the important things is to provide plant density for their shelter. It's areas of plant variety and proximity. It can be in a circular form, rectangle, a really long, skinny bed. The caterpillars most of the time will move to different plant species to form their pupa. So like mine tend to move off the milkweed and stay onto the Jerusalem artichoke or whatever other plant is really close by. If there's nothing else close by, they will form a pupa on the milkweed. But generally, when they come up missing, you'll be looking on other plants for the pupa stage. In your density plan, if you are making a brand new garden, plant your new plants every 3 feet. But you can always go into an existing pollinator garden and add plants so that it's more dense. Add plants in where there's opening spots, and add milkweed into that existing garden so you convert it into a monarch way station. This is kind of what happened over 1 year time at my house. I started with this edge along my long garage that was grass all the way up to the garage. Fixed it out with some more dirt and everything. Planted the new plants in there. Marked them with a white rock because they're all going to die out. And I wanted to know where they were supposed to be coming up at the next spring. The picture below is late spring. Everything has come out really nice, pretty dense garden. Lots of things in bud, and in the late spring blooms started opening up. Bloomed all through the summer, different things blooming. And the last picture down there is from the fall. So the garden actually bloomed from like late spring all the way through late fall. As a naturalist, I'm going to talk today about using native plants. There's all types of milkweed, but if you're going to go through the trouble of looking for them, paying for them, adding them into your gardens, you want to make sure you get native ones and ones that will live well in this area. These are the 4 best milkweed for our Piedmont area here of Virginia, North Carolina. The first picture at the top is the common milkweed. It's named that because it commonly grows in fields, pastures. It really loves side ditches. They want full sun, but they kind of want a damp area too. They're get into a pretty big plant. Some of them get taller than me, and the leaves are very big and fuzzy feeling. Beside it is a swamp milkweed. Down at the bottom with the orange blossom is a butterfly weed, milkweed, and then a whorled milkweed. The butterfly weed and the whorled will also be found out in sides of the road or the edge of the woods. You can find the common milkweed plants at some of our nurseries. One out in the Snow Creek area, and then Ray Woods down near Danville will sometimes have that, and they will sometimes have this butterfly weed. But you can go out and find these sprouts, try to dig them up and transplant them somewhere. They most readily transplant if you can get a good root system from them, but right when they first emerge in the spring. You can also collect the seed pods in the fall. Make sure the pod is all brown, dried up, and the day like it starts to split, that's the day that you get it. I want to advise you that some nurseries will sell tropical milkweed, or you may be looking and find milkweed off somewhere outside of our area. Tropical milkweed is not a good species for monarchs. So do not buy it. Kind of keep in your mind, we do not live in the tropics, so we're not going to plant tropical milkweed in our gardens. Here's a picture again of a seed pod really ripe. Right after it splits, the wind easily picks up on that floss. There'll be some attached to every seed, and it quickly carries those seeds out by wind dispersion. So you need to get the pod before they all blow out. You will probably need snippers. These pods are attached to the milkweed stalk very tightly. Again, I'm going to advise on native plants for our areas to provide nectar. This is another picture of a common milkweed. Oh, they smell so good and they are a beautiful flower. On here, you see a lot of great spangled fritillaries and several types of bumblebees are on there too. So they attract all types of insects and pollinators. The plants we recommend are native, and monarchs happen to like them. Tickseed coreopsis, black-eyed Susan, phlox, ironweed, liatris, asters, coneflowers, Joe Pye weed, bee balm, goldenrod. Some of those types of plants comes in a variety of species or colors, and that's fine. Any of those are great. Also, always add in some annual plants. Bright colors will attract the butterflies in, and ones that they really like are zinnia, cosmos, and any kind of sunflower. Now, if you're going through this trouble, doing this physical labor, making a decision about your garden, maybe having to buy those plants, make sure that every year you sustain it. Some things that you can do each year, or maybe add in something like a bee hotel, a bird bath, something like that. Don't use any pesticides. Amend the soil, put in some mulch, water as needed. Hopefully you've got a rain barrel and can use that on your garden. Let your stems overwinter each fall because there's a lot of little pollinators that live down in those stems. And then when you do clean up, you can leave those a certain height and they will offer a support system to the new plant stems coming up. So every year you might want to replant if you've got a vacant area, but you'll be able to transplant too, because some of your established plants will start having babies. And then if you have extra, you can always do a plant swap with a friend. You are going to have milkweed pest. Don't be alarmed. MonarchScience.org has done studies that show caterpillar survival is better if there's a lot of bugs around on the milkweed plants. So ones that you commonly might see are the swamp milkweed leaf beetle. You can see there he's chomping a lot on a leaf. The milkweed bugs down at the bottom seem to like the seed pods the best. And then the aphids, they love the new growth on flowering plants. There's always predators around. If you'll notice in this picture, there is a predator. I was trying to get a photograph of this monarch. It landed. It was sitting very still. I was able to focus good. Didn't know why the butterfly wasn't flying, because he can see me or she, and she can hear me because I'm running across the yard chasing it to get a good photograph. So when I looked at my photograph, then I saw, oh, there's something extra in this photograph. See that long, tall, tan thing sticking up from behind it? That's a Chinese praying mantid. Right when that butterfly landed, the mantid happened to be there and grabbed it from the other side, which I didn't notice. So they're sitting there both like statues. But when I saw that in my photograph, I went back over, flipped the abdomen of the mantid. He flew off, and then the butterfly also flew off unharmed. Some other things that could look for the monarch eggs or the caterpillars or ants, spiders, wasps, lacewings, ladybug larvae, milkweed bugs. The birds in Mexico could possibly eat them up, although our birds generally avoid orangish red looking insects and certain types of caterpillars. Mice can get them sometimes, but one of the big predators is people. We'll be catching them and you don't know how to properly catch it using a large butterfly net or improperly holding the butterfly. The scale that are very colorful will get off onto your fingers when you do this, and you have hurt the butterfly's wings and scales. So it could have shortened their life. People also weed eat off the milkweed that has the caterpillars and the pupa or the eggs on there. You're putting out pesticides or herbicides. There's all kinds of ways that we could end up being called a predator because we actually are destroying them. But if they get on that Endangered Species Act, it is going to be against the law to do anything to harm any stage of the monarch. Their defenses are their bright orange colors. This alerts mostly birds that they do not taste good. A cat happens to get a monarch, most likely as soon as it bites like into it to eat it, it then just spits it back out. They do not taste good. Those caterpillars only want milkweed because that substance, which is sticky white, looks like Elmer's glue, is full of poisons. But that is what the monarch caterpillar needs to eat. So the caterpillar itself is full of this poison material, substance. And when the caterpillar turns to the pupa and emerges as the adult, all of that milkweed poison lingers in the body of the adult. So they do not taste good. Now you can certify your monarch way station if you would like. We are doing this whenever DRBA helps to create one. It helps with public awareness. We usually always have some type of interpreted signs around our garden areas just to educate the public. To certify your monarch way station, it needs to have 6 hours of sunshine daily. 100 square total feet, and again, that can be in any shape. It needs to provide shelter by plant density. You need to have milkweeds in there as host plants. It could be the same kind of milkweed, but it would be better if it was a variety. You need to add nectar plants, the perennials that's going to come back, but also add in some colorful annuals every year. And then practice sustainable management, like take care of that garden year by year. If you want to certify your monarch way station, you use the organization called Monarch Watch. Here's the process. You just go into there, log in, you'll do a self-certification registration, which costs $18. They'll send you a paper certificate. If you would like an official metal sign, you can get that for an additional $18. So this is the sign like that DRBA usually puts up. Then your way station is added to the map with Monarch Watch. And this helps us all see where stations are at. It provides data to the researchers. They know who is helping. They know, do the flyways change? Do the populations of monarchs increase in these areas if there's more monarch way stations? We'd also like you to be a citizen scientist. You do this by reporting your sightings of monarchs. This group is online called Journey North. They collect data for several different things, including the monarch and milkweed. You can report any day that you see these things. And they also have bio blitzes, which are designated days. They're asking like everybody, go out today and do this. You just log into Journey North and you choose Monarch as the thing you are collecting data about. It will ask you your location. What stage did you find? And that means, was it an egg, a caterpillar, a pupa, or an adult? The date. How many did you see? And then they want a photo to go along with your data. It's very easy to use and it's free to use. Now, the weather always determines the life stages of things like this, including the monarch stages. But we could say the eggs will be out there 3 to 5 days. Last year, it took the ones I was watching longer than that. The females will lay 300 to 1,000 eggs, depending on how lucky she is, but they do not lay them in clusters like some insects do. You will only find one monarch egg at a location. On a big, fat, common milkweed leaf, you might find more than one on the bottom of that same leaf, but so far I haven't. When the females are laying, it's all during every generation going towards Canada. The ones that leave Canada and start to Mexico or the bottom of California, they will start out still mating and laying eggs and adding to the ones that are trying to get to Mexico. But around in there in that early fall, late summer, when the migration starts, soon afterwards, something happens inside of those genes of the monarchs, and some will emerge out then that do not care anything about mating or laying eggs. The only thing on their mind is to get to Mexico. So we only tag in the fall because we know those are heading south. And you won't be searching for eggs after late summer, real early fall, or the caterpillars. You'll only be looking for the adults migrating through. Caterpillars will eat, maybe up to 15 days. Again, last year, some of mine were eating longer than that. It does depend on the weather again. They'll be in the pupa stage or chrysalis stage up to about 15 days. And then the adult's going to live like those 2 to 6 weeks, going up to the Canada area. But going southward, they could live 8 to 9 months. This is an enlarged photo of a common milkweed bloom. Look how detailed and intricate that is. And it smells delicious. When you're looking for the eggs again, you're looking for one single, tiny, cream-colored egg, oval shaped with little lines on it. So it's kind of like a miniature football. Generally, they're going to be underneath the milkweed leaf. But the middle photograph shows some female decided to lay one egg on the bud of the flower. And over on the far right, that one laid her egg on one of the seed pods. I haven't seen that happen yet. I generally always, they're coming out like on the bottom of the milkweed leaves. Now, if you find a egg and you think, oh, that one is rotting because it's black at the end, it is actually getting ready to hatch if it's black at the end. So when you're out there looking for them, the best thing to do is to stoop down and look under. You'll want to hold on to the leaf and look under it. You could squish the egg. It's very tiny and pliable. Or squish the little caterpillar. I mean, they are super, super small when they hatch out. And just holding it with your thumb underneath, you can do that. So what I do is look for the little holes in the leaf. The first thing a baby caterpillar does is eat the remnant of the shell he hatched from and the area around where the shell was glued to the bottom of the leaf. So it comes out this perfect little circle shape. Now, another insect or something could have did that, or The caterpillar could have fell off after he eat that little hole out. But just about every time I find these tiny little holes on the milkweed leaf, I then can gently hold the leaf away from that area, look under, and there's my little baby close to that hole. They will stay there and the hole will get bigger and bigger and bigger. I have found leaves where the caterpillar at full grown stage never left that big common milkweed leaf. It was enough for their whole time as a caterpillar, and there's nothing left but the outside edge of the big leaf. Here's some pictures of the caterpillar growing. There up in the top right corner, you can see the caterpillar hanging on and nothing much left of that leaf. Another really good way to find them if you are growing common milkweed is by frass. Frass is butterfly poop. The common milkweed has those huge big leaves that are a little fuzzy. The caterpillars do nothing but eat, 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 and poop, poop, poop all of their life stage as a caterpillar. And the poop is going to drop straight down because they are going to be hidden under the leaf. So if there's on a common milkweed, they poop straight down and it's going to collect on the next leaf down. And then you can peep up under and there the caterpillar will be above. Of course, the frass will change sizes as the caterpillar grows. When it starts out, probably won't notice. It'll be like little bitty bits of black pepper. But as the caterpillar gets pretty big like your finger, then you'll notice the frass better. Now, they like to leave that host plant and form their pupa somewhere else if you've got those adjacent plants. If you see one leaving, he's on his journey to find a pupa home. And there I caught a picture of mine leaving the leaf stem, going down the plant main stem to exit the common milkweed. If you find one hanging and he's in the shape of a J, he is ready to form a pupa. Some other butterflies do this too. So J-shaped means I'm ready to be a pupa. And it doesn't take very long. I've noticed that the ones I watch seem to want to do this at nighttime, so I cannot observe. But if it is hanging out in a J in the day, keep a careful watch on it consistently because the process happens very quickly. Now, when they get their pupa formed, it will look like this first photo, a beautiful lime color, a couple of inches long, and it has a gold crown at the top. You might notice what looks like specks of gold or little drips of water on the outside, and this is perfectly normal. At some point in this 10, 14-day area, it will start to look black. And again, you might think it's rotting away, and it might be. But it could be that you're starting to see the body and the black veins of the butterfly itself. Eventually, that outside covering will turn clear, and you'll really be able to see the butterfly inside good. When it's ready to come out, that is called eclosion. It will split at that little crown area first, and then the split will go down the side. The adult butterfly, although kind of crinkled up, will crawl out and leave behind the outside covering, which will hang there, and it kind of feels like brown paper bag. She goes out to the sun close by and starts stretching and flapping her wings. So she'll be very close by in that area for several hours. She'll probably stay in your area the rest of that day. You might see her or him the next morning feeding, but generally the monarch adults are only in your area like the one day, refuel, take off flying again. Now let's see if you can guess these monarch traits. Monarch butterflies do not have a nose, but I told you that they were smelling out the males and they're smelling the fragrance from the nectar plants that they want to visit. They are using their antenna to smell. Now, their antenna are also their internal GPS system, so it's like a double function. They do not have ears, so how are they hearing? They hear predators. They hear me coming towards them, or a cat coming that way, or a bird swooping in. They hear the flap of the wings at the roost site. So the sound waves bounce off of their wings, and they know something is around. They do not have a mouth, so how do they eat? That is with the proboscis. It is like a flexible straw that rolls out of the front of their head and down into the nectar source. They sip up that nectar, and then the proboscis rolls back up into their head. Now, they don't have a tongue, so how did they decide what nectar they wanted to drink? Or how did the female decide she was on a milkweed plant and that was a good place to lay an egg? Well, they have 6 feet, and on the bottom of their feet, they have taste buds. So they can pull in those tastes from 6 different feet. Now, to wrap up, I want to mention those helpful organizations again. If you want to get your Monarch waystation certified or just learn a lot more information about monarchs, go to monarchwatch.org. If you will help us with sightings, be a citizen scientist and report all the sightings of the monarchs, eggs, pupa, caterpillars, adults, and report the new growth of milkweed coming up this year. You do that with Journey North. If you're trying to find a great free app to help you identify things out in nature, including butterflies, go with iNaturalist.org. You can go online with them, or you can download the free app. Please help us save the monarch. Maybe someday you'll get to see a roost. Most of those roosts are happening down in the bottom of Mexico, and there's a small area of Southern California that they go into each year. But sometimes we hear people in the United States reporting small roosts. They're here finding each other, and as they're migrating, they will gather in little small amounts. So it's possible that you could find a roost someday. If you have any questions or would want to get in touch with me about this presentation or doing a presentation at your organization, please email me at rflora2023@gmail.com. Thank you for watching today.